Mr. Yaggi, this is a wonderful opportunity to have you here in Utah. We are interested in what the Waterkeepers Alliance is doing here after being informed that we have 320 chapters throughout the world to be able to talk about something as important to the planet as its major resource. Maybe you could fill us in a little bit about that.
Absolutely, Michael, and thank you so much for having me. Well, to step back, Waterkeeper Alliance is an international movement uniting more than 320 locally based clean water advocacy organizations and focusing citizen action on issues that affect our waterways, from pollution to climate change. And so those currently 320 waterkeepers, these locally based advocates, are patrolling and protecting more than 2.5 million square miles of watershed around the world. And while we've got people that have come here to Utah from Senegal, from Togo, from Kenya, from China, from India, Bangladesh, across Europe, South America, Canada, Australia, and across the United States to engage in a week of training, learning, inspiration, and networking about how to protect our world's water resources. You know, right now, our world's water resources are in peril. So we've got every day about 2 million tons of pollution is dumped into our world's waterways every day, and it's making people sick. About half of the world's hospital beds, are filled with someone with a waterborne illness. That's someone that was drinking dirty water, didn't have enough water, or was swimming in dirty water, came into contact with polluted water. It's half of the hospital beds around the world. And our waterkeepers coming from all those different countries here to Utah, they come from different diverse backgrounds, different languages, different religions, different cultures, different political framework, different legal framework, but they're united in the belief that everyone has a right to clean water. And what they do is wake up every day and work to create a world where everyone can go down to their local waterway, jump in and have a swim without fear of getting sick, or get to their local water source, fill up a glass and drink it without fear that they're poisoning themselves with toxic chemicals, or go down to a local waterway and throw in a line and catch a fish without fear, and then take it home and feed it to their family without fear that they're going to poison their family with mercury, PCBs, and other nasty chemicals. And so what we do here when we brought them into Utah is to spend 4 days of really skill building and networking to help achieve that world that we're trying to create.
We have a great interest in how the state of Utah works with the world. We have a World Trade Center Utah chapter here, and we have recently just had a very interesting export type of conference. So the idea that Waterkeeper Alliance would be here, very fundamental to the idea of Utah as a showplace. But tell me, as we're drilling down into the very specifics of what you're talking about and making sure that people at a very, very local level have clean water to drink, tell me what the Alliance is doing. If you could give me some background in the specific initiatives here.
Sure. Well, we love coming to Utah. You got amazing, it's gorgeous here, and everyone is always so welcoming of us, and we just love being here. I've been coming here for work with Waterkeeper Alliance almost twice a year for the past decade, and it's one of my favorite places to visit, so thank you for your hospitality. What we're doing on a number of initiatives, waterkeepers are enforcers, and so one of the key things we do is make sure that polluters are complying with the laws. And it's an interesting thing because we're very grassroots focused, very bottoms up. So every waterway is different. Every community is different. They have different relationships with their waterway, and different issues affecting their waterway. So our job is then to try to bring all of these disparate issues together, help them find commonality, and help advance the movement towards clean water forward. So the issues are very wide ranging. For us, as an organization at Waterkeeper Alliance, we end up compiling our work into 3 different campaigns. One campaign is called Clean and Safe Energy, which is a campaign that's designed to try to get us off of fossil fuels, dirty fossil fuels, and push us into a sustainable clean energy future, because the whole the fossil fuel process is from the extraction to the transportation to the combustion to the disposal is dirty all the way.
And water reliant.
Water reliant. You can't talk about energy and climate without talking about water. It's all so intertwined. And so that's a big issue. I mean, the toxic waste coming out of coal-fired power plants from after they combust the coal is the #1 source of toxic pollution in our waterways in America. And it's chromium, cadmium, arsenic, lead, mercury, thallium, selenium, the list goes on, discharging into waterways that people use to swim and to drink, to fish. So that's a big issue, is dealing with fossil fuels. And I know you've got a lot of issues with fossil fuels around here with tar sands and others. Our second campaign is called the Pure Farms, Pure Waters campaign, and that's designed around industrial agriculture, particularly the concentrated animal feeding operations, the massive swine, pig farms, or the massive poultry farms and other. And those typically evade complying with environmental laws and treating the waste and send it into waterways instead. And that's what helps them create an uneven playing field and put family farmers out of business.
And Mark, in Utah, that translates into nutrient pollution. Our environmental quality people warned our legislators several years ago that nutrient pollution was going to be a topic of great interest throughout the country, and I've seen it happen in Northern Virginia. The awareness has been occurring on a rolling basis. It's just barely getting to Utah when we have some algae blooms here that are killing animals like pets and fish, and destroying some very pristine runoff here. Does Waterkeeper Alliance have any specific resources or training going on here specifically on that topic? I know the Chesapeake was mentioned, but fill us in on what could be available here in Utah.
Yeah, we will have approximately, I would say, 40 to 50 different panels of training for our advocates. And they're going to run the gamut of everything you need to know to be an effective advocate. There will be some that will be strategizing on specific campaigns. There will be others that are science related, some that are fundraising related, some that are communications related, all the different kind of tools that you need in your toolbox to be an effective community advocate. And absolutely, nutrient pollution is a huge issue for a lot of our water keepers. That's a major focus of the Pure Farms, Pure Waters campaign. And it's also a big issue. I mean, it's a big issue around the world, particularly the United States. I mean, we have a case against EPA, a lawsuit against EPA related to the dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico, which is a massive dead zone coming from all of the nutrient pollution coming out through the Mississippi River Basin. And it's something that's going to be discussed pretty extensively this week.
How many months ahead do you think that your business plan, I know you're the business agent, essentially the executive director of Waterkeeper Alliance, how does your business plan project in terms of the future? I know a lot of businesses will have a 3-year business plan, and then every year they'll revise that, so they always have a 3-year business plan. Is that pretty much what your responsibility is as well?
Yeah, it's important. I find it really important that we have a strategic plan, a business plan that guides our operation and guides us towards our mission of having swimmable, drinkable, fishable waterways around the world. And it's important that we measure ourselves and measure that we're working towards achieving that mission. So we have a 3-year plan, and we constantly review that and look at our compliance with the metrics that we place in there. We're about to finish the 3rd year, or we're about to go into the 3rd year of our current 3-year plan, and so we'll be getting started on another one. But I've actually spent the past year we've been working on thinking a little bit bigger, because we've been looking at the scale and the magnitude of the global water crisis, and related to the issue of the massive amount of pollution that I mentioned before, coupled with the 50% of hospital beds filled with people with a waterborne illness, or the fact that 4,500 children are going to die today because of polluted water or lack of access to water. And we look at the massive challenges coupled with climate change, shrinking the amount of water we have in certain places, and climate change is, changing the chemistry of our oceans, transforming the character of our coastlines, and changing the timing and intensity of rain. We look at all those massive crises we have on our hands, and we realize that we needed to look and see how we can scale up our response to that crisis, because we really believe in the effectiveness of our model. So I've spent about the past year developing a 20-year business plan which obviously will be nimble so we can change it over time. That's a long period to look out. But we're looking at how can we, over the next 20 years, significantly invest in the support we provide for these local advocates to make sure they're the best and brightest water advocates on the planet, coupled with growing our movement strategically so that we can, in the next 20 years, make sure that we've got one of these best and brightest water keepers on every habitable waterway on the planet.
If you could have any kind of resource that, human resource that you could call for, would you take a second right now to issue a plea for those types of people to be involved?
That's a good question. There are a lot of needs. I'm trying to prioritize it.
Yeah, go ahead. We can make it work.
All right. Well, as a 501c3 nonprofit, we don't electioneer. Right. But what I can say in response to your original question is that what we need from human resources for people that care about the future and that care about care about our right to clean water and to clean air and to having a future for our children is we need those kind of people to run for office.
These are also resources that would be distributed throughout the world. We have a great amount of talent to tap here in Utah because we have a lot of people who have been around the world on various assignments and who have skills with people and language skills, and so I was wondering if those specific individuals could be put to work when it comes to clean air, clean water, specifically on the Waterkeepers mission, and those kinds of resources as they relate to Utah specifically.
Well, with Utah, for a couple of things, I've been coming to Deer Valley for a very long time, and we're really thankful for the way they open their great resources and community to us, and they're so friendly. I came out last year to speak at a Salt Lake Watershed Symposium and got to meet hundreds of dedicated community-based people here in Utah that are working on the challenging water rights issues and the challenging water quality issues here in Utah. And you're correct, there's an amazing wealth of human capital here. And I say the way to put it to work is to do it locally, because that's what our whole model is about, is to try to act locally. You know, you think globally, but act locally. That's where the biggest change is going to happen. And so helping support your local groups. We worked a lot with like Utah Rivers Council, for example. They're a great organization. And
Zach Frankel,
exactly. I'm a big fan of Zach. And you know, working with groups like that and acting locally, it's going to spread change.
Glad to have you here. One last question then. If you had a takeaway that you wanted to implant on in everyone's mind, not only the people that have been attending and registered to your conference, but those who might be joining us throughout the internet, what would you like them to know about Waterkeeper Alliance today?
Well, I think the Waterkeeper movement is the most effective grassroots model for protecting everyone's right to clean water, for drinking, for fishing, for swimming. So get out and act locally and start a Waterkeeper if there's not one in your local waterway.
Excellent. And they would be able to contact the Alliance how?
Absolutely. A number of ways. You can go to our website at waterkeeper.org, or you can check us out on Facebook or on Twitter.
Excellent. Excellent. Marc Yaggi, thank you for coming to Utah. Thanks for your comments today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.